Hi, and welcome to the LinkedIn 101 Basics of LinkedIn webinar by the Experiential Learning Hub at the University of Guelph. I'd like to begin with a territorial acknowledgement from the University of Guelph. It is with great respect the Experiential Learning Hub acknowledges that the University of Guelph resides on the ancestral lands of the Attawandaron people and the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. We uphold the significance of the Dish with One Spoon Covenant and the continuing relationship our Indigenous neighbors have with this land. We recognize that today this gathering is a home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging them reminds us of our relationships with this land where we learn and work. So welcome again, and thanks so much for being here today. A bit about myself. My name is Louisa Smith, and I'm a career advisor here at the University of Guelph, where I work specifically with the College of Engineering and Physical Sciences. I have a background in human resources and tech, where I was working as a tech recruiter, and I also worked as a career advisor for a coding bootcamp in Toronto. I'm new to Guelph, so I'm really enjoying exploring the city as much as I can, while still maintaining physical distancing, of course. And I am a coffee fanatic, but I stick to decaf. I love all things decaf and, of course, all things nature. So in terms of what we'll be covering today, we'll be covering a few different topics. First, we'll be covering what you can get out of LinkedIn. We'll also be talking about how to create an eye-catching profile. We'll also be discussing a bit about, okay, what happens now that you've made a profile, and then I'll be including some additional resources for you as well. So if you're here with us today, I'm sure you've heard all about LinkedIn in the past, but I'd like to discuss some of the benefits here. So some of the benefits can include gaining exposure to recruiters and hiring managers. The majority of folks in hiring use LinkedIn as a part of their job hunt, so having a profile that is a positive reflection of you can really help assist you in the job search. It's also a great way to demonstrate your knowledge and show what you know. So maybe you're interested in business, healthcare, technology, whatever the field, no matter how niche, I can almost guarantee you that you can find folks with similar interests and similar companies on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a great place to research people and companies that you're interested in and learn a bit more so that you can make an educated decision in your job hunt. You'll also have access to many more job postings as well. So many employers do post job postings on LinkedIn. You can also endorse people and people can endorse you as well for your skills. And lastly, you can also follow companies that you may be interested in. So now you've been convinced and you're ready to make a profile. So LinkedIn has a very thorough and intuitive onboarding platform for you to upload the basics, like a photo, your previous education, etc. So since it's very straightforward, I won't be focusing too much of our time on that today. But what I did want to focus on are 3 sections to your profile that may take a bit more thought and effort to complete. And those 3 sections are your headline, your about section, and your experience section. We'll talk about those in more detail, but one thing to remember through all of this is that keywords are your best friend. Using specific words, such as specific technologies or industry-specific terms, can help increase your chances of being found by others on LinkedIn. So let's talk a bit more about headlines. Your headline shows up anywhere your name and photo show up as well, so that means it should be attention grabbing and really standing out. So going back to keywords like I mentioned in the last slide, using industry-specific keywords and hard skills can be used to help you stand out. Feel free to get really creative here. LinkedIn is a social media platform, so you do have more creativity than you may have on your resume. So I've listed some examples here, so I'll read them out for you. So Kathy Wilbert has her headline listed as freelance software developer with experience building apps in Java, Rails, C#, and a full stack engineer. And we have Annette as well. She's an aspiring project manager, a senior at New York University. She's experienced with Scrum, Agile, and Kanban. Your About Me section comes next, and this is essentially your product pitch. So you may be thinking, what's the product here? The product is you and your amazing skills. So if you think about great product pitches, they often boil down to helping the user resolve their issue in an easy way. Your About section is talking about ways that you can help make things easier for folks. What makes you a standout student? What extracurriculars have you taken to make you a better employee? You can think of this section as being similar to a cover letter, but it's more concise and functional. It's up to you how you'd like to structure this, but you should get to the point quickly and highlight your fantastic experiences. An optional piece is adding relevant media, such as prior projects you've created, research items you've created, or any relevant media that showcases your highlights. The last section I'd like to highlight today is your education and experience section. Something I'd like to highlight here is that you are a Griffin, and that's something to be very proud of. Starting off with your major and minor, if applicable, and a highlight of activities is a great place to start here. You can also list any work-study programs or any on or off-campus involvement here. You want this section to be concise, but also detailed. Using action verbs, the skills you used, and the results of your work are a great skeleton to help create this section. On the next slide, I've got listed a list of action words for you to use to help build this section. One way I like to do this for myself is write down all of the tasks I've done in a previous role, choose a few that I want to highlight, and write down action verbs for each one. I use the STAR method, which stands for situation, task, action, and result. In other words, what was the situation I was faced with? What was the task I needed to achieve? What action did I take to solve the problem? And what was the result that came from it? This slide highlights a positive action word list that you can use to help create your education and experience section. While I won't read all of the words out loud for you today, I would encourage you to use a few of these or find other resources online that use similar positive action words to help you to get creative in creating that experience section. So by now we've discussed your About section, we've discussed your headline, and we've discussed your education and experience section. There are some additional things to keep in mind. There is a skills and expertise section on LinkedIn that I'd suggest you fill out. So you use this section to fill with keywords and phrases that come up in job listings that may be of interest to you, provided that you have those skills, of course. So for example, maybe you have experience with graphic design and have used specific technology for that. This is where you'd list that specific technology. Or maybe you've gained fantastic leadership and teamwork and maybe communication skills as well in your customer service role. This is where you'd put all of those skills as well. Now you get out of LinkedIn what you put into it, so be sure to update your status regularly. You can talk about projects, books and articles that you've read recently, or talk about some virtual events that you've attended or looking forward to attending in the future. One last thing that I would suggest for you to do is creating a unique LinkedIn URL. The best way to do this is by going to your profile and clicking the button that says Edit Your Profile URL. Now you should be making your URL something clean and professional, like your first name and your last name. I've included a screenshot on how to do so. Now that you've got your profile created, you can start making those connections. You can start with your immediate network, like friends, classmates, professors, and of course the University of Guelph. A question I often receive is, should I add everyone who adds me? Now the answer to that is that it's completely up to you. It could be a great way to engage with folks you may not typically engage with, and you never know where that connection may lead you. You can find companies and industries that interest you on LinkedIn and follow them, keeping track of events and articles that they post. What I like to use LinkedIn for is for informational interviews, to chat with folks and learn more about jobs, companies, and industries that you may be curious about. Now, if you've never heard of an informational interview before, that's quite all right. You can head to the Experiential Learning Hub page, and there are resources on there on how to conduct an informational interview. I've included a link for that on the next slide. Lastly, be sure to have some fun. Again, you get out of LinkedIn what you put into it. So the more active you are, the more likely you are to find interesting folks, and the more likely they are to find you. Finally, I'd like to leave you with some resources. The first resource that I've listed for you is LinkedIn Learning. LinkedIn Learning is a video-based training library where users can access online learning modules to build specific skills and achieve personal and professional goals. I suggest that you create a LinkedIn profile first, get comfortable with the platform, and then feel free to explore LinkedIn Learning. The second resource I have listed here is a resource that we've created for informational interviews, which is what I mentioned in the last slide. So you can go ahead and access those, and you can learn a bit more about informational interviews in terms of what questions to ask, how to conduct them, and what you'll gain from conducting them as well. And finally, I have some examples here of some exemplary student LinkedIn profiles for you to review and to help you craft your own LinkedIn profile. So with that, I'd like to thank you for joining us for our webinar today, and I wish you the best with your networking and for creating a LinkedIn profile. While we're not in the office at this time, if you have any questions, you can always contact us virtually. You can contact us at the Experiential Learning Hub using the email recruit@uoguelph.ca. Thanks so much and enjoy your day.